This took place in June of 2021. This was the day I was going to explore an abandoned city near my area. Of course I was not going to go alone, so my cousin came along. This was a 3-hour drive from where I lived. We ended up arriving at the spot around 3 p.m. on a Saturday. We quickly looked up some history and facts about the lost village. Turns out, in the year 1845, a rich man bought hundreds of acres of land. He then used all of this land to build a small village where around 150 people used to live. In the year 1860, he retired and nobody wanted to take over the property and land. Therefore, the area became abandoned ever since. Now this is the part where it gets scary. The woods around the abandoned area is called the Witch's Forest. This is because there are rumors of Satanists and witch rituals taking place at night. There is the famous story where 3 girls entered the woods one day. They wanted to go camping, but they never returned. Their bodies were never found, but many people believe their spirits are still roaming around the area. Many people also reported seeing faces in the scary-looking abandoned houses. The sudden change in temperature and immediate urges to leave the woods are enough to scare anybody. But that did not stop my cousin and I. We easily found a small path in the woods that led us straight to the small cemetery. This is where the people that once lived in the city were buried. We carefully made our way around the cemetery and continued on the path, leading us deeper into the woods. At some point, I looked behind, towards the cemetery, and I thought I saw a shadow of a person following us. I told my cousin to look, but he could not see anything. So we both just blamed it on the fact that I was probably just seeing things. After a couple more minutes, we made it to a clearing where we had to climb a very steep hill in order to reach the area. We knew this was the right way because we Googled a way to get there before we started walking on this path. Googling the area became very important because my cousin and I had no more cell service this deep in the woods. At this point, I started carefully hiking up the steep hill. After about 10 minutes, we made it up the steep hill and reached the deep woods. This is when I saw the first abandoned house in the city. The thing about this city is that there was a lot of property, meaning the houses were very spread out throughout the woods. This made it difficult for anyone who tried to explore the abandoned city. The first house was very old and broken down, with the roof about to fall off the house. My cousin suggested we try to find a way to get into the house. So we climbed over the broken rubble on the ground to get closer to the building. We both searched for a way in, but everything was boarded up really well, leading us to continue on our way in search of a different house. As we continued taking different paths in the woods, we came upon an abandoned church. This was part of the city during the 1800s. The church looked like it was in decent shape, and the grass growing around it really made it look like something out of a movie or video game. After some time, we found a small looking house, in which we did find a way in. I tried the doorknob to the house, but it did not open. When my cousin tried the doorknob, it opened. So we walked inside. It was dark, but when my eyes adjusted to the light, we could see a bunch of trash and food in one of the rooms in the house. I instantly knew that some homeless man or something was living in this house. I quickly told my cousin that we should leave the house, as I did not want to risk anything. This time, we walked deeper in the woods on this small path that led to a smaller house. This one was more secluded from the others. As we approached the house, we could see a shattered window, which was just tall enough for us to squeeze through. That's exactly what we did. I carefully made my way to the shattered window and climbed inside. Once inside, I turned on my flashlight and looked around. By this time, my cousin climbed into the house. The light illuminated the different broken items in the house. The second floor of the house looked like it was caving in and about to fall through. Also, you could literally see the old dust floating through the house. As I moved my flashlight, I stumbled across a small cellar area. I slowly walked inside the cellar and looked around. There was not much in there, just some shelves, but there was a door that was slightly open. Since I was curious, I slowly opened the door and shined my flashlight inside. In the corner of the room, I saw a rocking chair, but across the room, in the other corner, there was a man standing there, looking at me, all confused. I instantly got a rush of adrenaline, shutting the door and telling my cousin to run out of the abandoned house. He quickly climbed outside the window. At that same time, I heard a door that I just closed slam open. I knew I was being chased, so I ran and jumped out the window. Somehow, I luckily landed on a soft patch of ground, so I was not hurt. My cousin and I both ran away from that abandoned house. I only looked behind me once both my cousin and I reached a clearing in the woods. Luckily, we were not being chased, so we paused to catch our breath. That was when I realized that we were lost. The path that we followed to get here was nowhere to be found. This was bad, since the sun was starting to set and it was getting dark really quick. The laughter from the trees caught my cousin and I off guard. I was confused at who made that laughter and where it was coming from. But one thing was for sure, I was not going to stick around to find out. My cousin and I decided a random direction to start running in. That's what we did for like 20 minutes. The problem was we did not end up getting to our car, because we somehow reached another abandoned house. Although it was dark, we wanted to at least take a look around the house and explore. I turned on my flashlight and led the way through some broken fence. This time, I was kind of on edge about the whole situation, so I was very cautious. The crazy thing is, as I was approaching the door to the house, I happened to look up at the window. Standing there and staring at me was the same person that was in the other abandoned house. At this point, my cousin and I both decided to run in a random direction, which eventually led to the parking lot and my car. As we sped out of the woods, we could not help but think about our experience in the woods. What does not add up for me is that we must have been followed by that same person. But how?